Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first of my reaction slash lesson videos. I got a submission. This is Hans from Germany who wants some advice on the Bach-Busoni Chaconne. Now, I've played this piece. I played it back in, I want to say around 2015 or so, and I got the chance to perform it a couple of times. So I'm not totally new to this piece, but it's been a while since I've looked at it. He says he's been playing piano since he was 6. Stopped at 19, picked it up again 3 years later, and studied for 2 more years with a great teacher. He's been learning this Chaconne for about 2 to 3 months now, and he sent passages of bars 98 through 138. So this is about just a little less than 2.5 minutes. Unfortunately, I wanted to record like my raw reaction the first time, and I actually did record that and realized that this guy walked around and unplugged my interface, so I came out with a video having no audio after the first 30 seconds. So I'm re-recording this the second time. Hopefully this will turn out a little better. Let's go ahead and listen to the submission, then I will get to his specific questions. First off, kudos to you for attacking such a difficult piece. This is not an easy piece, although it's a glorious piece based, of course, on Bach's solo violin Chaconne, which Busoni took and he expanded it a lot further than the solo violin can play. But all the themes that he did use are in some way based upon Bach's original writing. And a lot of it is quite awkward physically because he's just trying to get so many voices in there. However, initially, Hans is doing a pretty good job of staying fluid. I don't see a lot of tension in his playing. In certain moments there are, but generally speaking, he's doing a good job staying relaxed. I do hear some dynamics. I hear some shading and some voicing. That could be brought out a little more, and Busoni is very, very specific and particular in his writing. So let's go ahead and address some of the questions that he has. First question, bars 98 through 101. I'm working on bringing out the lower voice. A little bit unsure how much rubato I can use. The accents in bar 100 in the right hand are a little weird, and I need to wrap my hand around them. Now, this whole section, actually starting before 98 and leading up into really 118, is kind of a slow build. However, specifically 98 through 101, he says sempre piano, which means always piano. So I would start off the section a little bit less, maybe even a little bit of soft pedal, because there's a long way to go as you're growing. So those accents are pretty interesting when they're placed. And I would just make sure that the right hand is not accenting anything before those accents. It's almost like the entry of a second voice. So you have just this. So when you're dealing with multi-voice piece like this, sometimes it helps to just play only the accented parts, leave everything out. And then when you play it with everything, you can add those extra voices in. Bars 102 through 115, I changed the suggested fingering and I'm happy about it. I'm now working on emphasizing the highest notes in the chords or the arpeggios, something that I am generally not good at. Okay, now when it comes to voicing, going back to what I said earlier, I would not focus so much at bringing out the top in this particular area, so much as bringing down the rest of the music. So those accents, or tenutos, you want to voice them out, but everything in the rest of the piano is in a heavy range of the piano. Starting in the middle of bar 102. Practice only these parts of the chords. And then everything else, whatever the fingering that you're using, you said you changed the fingering, so I would practice that separately. And just work on having that extremely light, and then in slow motion put it together. And then as far as voicing the pinky, just a little bit of lift goes a long way. In voicing that. All right, next he has a question about bar 106 through 109. He says, the hardest part of the passage for me in this excerpt, I botched the crescendo. I don't know what part of the figure I should emphasize. The notes indicate the middle. Okay, I would highly recommend in measure 106 and following to redistribute some of the fingerings. What's written is this. And the reason he writes it this way, I understand, is because he's trying to track with the voices. I think you can get that same effect by redistributing it like this. And etc. So it's going to take a little bit of time figuring out where to put which finger, but I would mark that in the score and try and rearrange it. I just think it's way easier than trying to, even if your hands can reach, and it looks like you have a pretty good reach, but I just think it's much easier to redistribute there. And as far as what notes you should emphasize in this section, I would do that same thing of playing only what's emphasized. And yes, it's probably most likely the top voice. At 1:10, he has a new set of accents. Okay, now moving on, he's talking about bars 110 through 117, where he says a couple wrong notes. Oops. Weird accents on different parts of the beat. Sometimes the highest note is stressed, sometimes another note. Any thoughts on that? Again, here, starting at 110, I would look for certain places where you can redistribute the hands. It won't be as constant, but a couple places. A good example is here in measure 12. I would probably take this B flat in the right hand. You can even take this D and E in the thumb, the A in the right hand. And keep in mind that after you get to here, poco a poco animando, you're going to need to accelerate, and then even more acceleration in measure 114. So plan your fingerings in such a way that you don't have to do any awkward or as few awkward crossings while maintaining that accent. Again, practicing. Some of the accents don't come when you expect them, and you expect there to be some which are not present. But I do think he's very specific at which ones you want to bring out. Once you have a better established fingering, just real slow, bringing out all the accents, the double stems at the base. No accent in 113. Accent. Etc. Next he says bars 118 through 121. He's happy with that passage for now. 122 through 125. Probably a different way to play this. Curious on your thoughts here. So let's check from 118 following. Okay, so pretty solid on 118. This is one of the places where the pattern remains consistent. So that's looking pretty good. Following in 123, or starting at 122, or really halfway through that measure, the staves break into 3, and we're left with... Now, here is a place where you're going to want to bring out these octaves, which you're doing a good job of, but I would back away just a little bit from this arpeggiated pattern here. It's very easy, again, this is in like a heavy area of the piano, so it's very easy for this to overwhelm what's happening. And più allargando, it's going to broaden up, and also you want to, I feel that the way this phrase is going, it's leading all the way to the end, so you might want to even budget in some more energy for a crescendo here. When you're playing this, I would really focus on the top of the voice. And really only normally like think mezzo piano, mezzo forte, da 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 da, and the fortissimo is more here in the top. Then it will sound more like a wave of crescendo. Really dig into this bass too. Leading all the way to that resolution. Next, he asks about bars 126 through 130, where he says tips for fingering in the right hand at the end of bar 127. I notice I'm losing tempo from bars 129 onward, so let's check out bars 126 through 130. By the way, all of these are very good and specific questions. It makes my job easier of getting to exactly what can help you. 126 and following, this is a little bit awkward in the right hand because he's asking you to hold down the thumb. And the question specifically is this this run. And the problem is landing on this note. Let me see, there's probably a better way to arrange this. I think that's probably what you're going to want to do. This is not usually something that you would suggest crossing over. When we're doing scales, we learn to cross under. You can't do that when the thumb is being held, so what I suggest is 5, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's probably going to be the fastest, and it will allow you to hold onto the thumb the longest. Here, 5, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. And his last question is bars 131 through 137. I'd like to connect the appoggiatura or grace note faster to the chords. Are there any tips? So first actually thing that I noticed is your pedal on these grace notes. You definitely want to make sure that you are catching the pedal on the low bass. Sometimes what I heard was, so we're losing that bass. Just make sure that you grab here at the pinky, so it rings through. Okay, that's first thing. Second is that the motion I'm seeing is, I would stay a lot closer to the keys. It's looking like there are 3 separate movements. So like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I would definitely suggest practicing it as just an octave. Staying very close and not really lifting. And then even as you get across, staying close to the surface. Also not overplaying these notes, because the interest is really still going to be in the so you can have a little emphasis on the pinky, lighten up that thumb, and that'll help you jump. I probably would not use 2-5 here. Just personally, maybe some might find it easier, but I think for me, maybe 1-5, 1-5, 4-1, or something like that. You might like 4-1, or you might like 4-5, but try all of them and see which one is more comfortable. So voicing it, bass, treble, and then not so much on this. This will come out by itself, just making sure you have the accuracy. So if you have the treble, the bass, you don't need to pound this out. It's going to come out because, again, it's in the center of the piano. And if you have the pedal, it's going to make everything sound more resonant. right, Hans, so hopefully that was helpful information, and hopefully it was helpful to those watching as well. If you have a piece that you would like me to review, to give you some tips on, even if it's just a portion of a piece like the one we did here, send me an email, josh.V.Piano@gmail.com, and you could get some free piano advice. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you know someone who might find this helpful, please share this video with them, and I will see you guys next time.